Closing technique, really? But I don't want to be a pushy salesperson. Hello everyone, I'm Dan Elzer with the Training Academy. Let's take 5 minutes to master closing technique. It's true that most salespeople in all industries are afraid of closing technique. They don't want to be that pushy salesperson or force people through a transaction. But one thing we need to realize as professionals is that the brain has to go through 4 very important things to be able to make that final decision. The first one is the customer has to have the ability to be able to ask questions, and sometimes very tough questions of the salesperson. Second, they got to be given the opportunity to vent frustrations or even share those bad experiences from past things that they've done. Third, they always want to give you their opinion. They like to get their opinion in on how they want things to work. And then last is they have to have the confidence to be able to truly object to the solutions that you bring to them. Now, when these things don't happen during the sales process, they get stored up in the brain of the seller or the buyer, and it actually creates an obstacle when it comes time to make that final decision. Now, one of the bad things that we do in real estate is we have this natural tendency to try to stifle any negative things that come from our customer. So if they bring us a tough question or objection, our natural response is either to, 1, interrupt and talk over them, or 2, even worse, we'll feature dump on them. Now, feature dumping is when you go back and represent the features and benefits of the product or service that you're offering. Neither of these work. And a matter of fact, they actually make things worse. The more you resist dealing with their problems, the more they store them in their head, and it just creates huge obstacles for them. So how do we deal with this? Well, first thing that we need to do is make sure that we're on purpose. When we have that initial contact with our customer, I want you to sit them down and have an outline or an agenda that you share with them on what's going to happen whether they're buying or selling a house. This lowers their anxiety and it starts to build trust. Secondly, I need you to move into questions as quickly as possible. First, start with the easy ones, discover needs, the nice questions. Then move into the more difficult ones like qualifying questions. What this does is it conditions the person to answer. They start to respond and interact with you. Now, then as you move through the selling process, you will allow those things to come out, those questions, those frustrations. Don't stifle them, get them on the table, coach them through them so you can put them to bed. Once we get them out of their head and on the table and dealt with, you're going to find that closing becomes much easier. But at the end of the day, you still have to have a final close question. And never forget, it must be closed-ended. You want a yes or a no. You don't want a maybe. And if you do this right and let all of that get out of their brain and on the table, you're going to get a lot more yeses.